In the live broadcast of the film festival, the spotlight shone on Yuan Shiqi's young and beautiful face. Best Actress? I almost crushed the wine glass in my hand. Wasn't my friend Jessica supposed to win? The camera panned across the first row, and Yuan Shiqi's gaze landed precisely on the sponsor's seat. My husband, Ethan Miller, was sitting there. 30 years of marriage. What a joke. In the live broadcast of the film festival, the spotlight shone on Vivian Ray's young and beautiful face. Best Actress? I almost crushed the wine glass in my hand. Wasn't my friend Jessica supposed to win? The camera panned across the first row, and Vivian's gaze landed precisely on the sponsor's seat. My husband, Ethan Miller, was sitting there. 30 years of marriage. What a joke. I picked up my phone and called my old friend in the press, Vince Carter. Vince, do me a favor. Susan, what brings you here? Vince's voice was teasing. At the film festival, the sponsor's seat in the first row, the empty seat next to Miller Group. Who was sitting there before? Susan, are you sure you want to know? Speak. My voice was as cold as ice. The reporter photographed the back view. It was Ethan. He and Vivian Ray entered the venue together, and he left early later. It really was him. My heart felt like it had been hit hard by a sledgehammer. Feeling dull and flustered, I pretended to be calm. Thanks, Vince. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone. Hanging up the phone, I looked at Vivian Ray's complacent face on the screen. Her eyes, at this moment, seemed full of provocation. Best Actress? Was it earned with her body? Ethan, my good husband, the president of the Miller Group, actually went this far for a young actress. I got up, changed into a black dress, put on pearl earrings. The woman in the mirror, her eyes no longer held the gentleness of the past. Only cold determination remained. I'm going to the awards ceremony banquet. I want to see with my own eyes just how smug this adulterous couple can be. The banquet is held on the top floor of the city's most luxurious hotel. Elegant dresses and glittering hairpins, clinking glasses. The waiter at the door stopped me. Madam, your invitation, please. He sized me up and down, with a hint of subtle condescension in his eyes. Yes, it's been a long time since I've been to an occasion like this. The former movie queen, Susan, has long become Ethan Miller's reclusive wife in other people's mouths. An old woman who has left the world of fame and fortune and is about to be forgotten. I took out my phone and dialed Ethan's number directly. It rang for a long time before he answered, his tone a little impatient. Susan, what is it? I was stopped at the entrance of the banquet. I said in a calm tone. There was a pause on the other end of the phone, followed by his perfunctory voice. Wait a moment. I'll have someone pick you up, soon. An assistant in a suit rushed over and respectfully led me inside. Ethan was standing not far away, chatting and laughing with several men in suits. He saw me, his brow furrowed almost imperceptibly, but he still walked over. What are you doing here? His tone was distant. Just here to see the excitement, I said with a faint smile, and to congratulate Miller Group's newly invested Best Actress. Ethan's face looked a little unnatural. It's just company strategy. Traffic is king, supporting our own people, and keeping the wealth within the family. He paused, his gaze sweeping over me. You should rest more. This kind of occasion isn't suitable for you. You look a little tired. The word he didn't say was old. I sneered inwardly. Just then, Vivian Ray walked over with a wine glass and took Ethan's arm, her posture intimate. Mrs. Miller, you're here too? She smiled innocently. It's windy outside. Shouldn't you wear more? I happen to have brought an extra shawl, if you don't mind. As she spoke, she was about to take off the luxury brand shawl from her shoulders. That shawl is the latest limited edition this year. She was showing off, and also implying her status. It further uses youth and consideration to highlight my old age and out-of-touchness. I smiled and avoided her hand. No need, Miss Vivian. I'm not cold. I saw the disappointment and unwillingness that flashed in her eyes. Ethan seemed a little embarrassed and made an excuse to leave. On the way back, the car was silent. I took out a good luck charm from my bag and hung it on the rearview mirror. I had specially gone to the temple to pray for it a few days ago. For him, and for this family. What's this? Ethan glanced at it and asked casually. A peace charm. May it protect you wherever you go. And I hope you can come home soon. My voice was very soft. Ethan didn't say anything. He just turned his gaze out the window. I know he didn't understand. Or rather, he didn't care. Back home, Ethan went straight into the study. As I passed by the study door, I caught a glimpse of him holding his phone. the screen showing Vivian Leigh's award-winning interview video. He was watching so intently, my heart grew colder. A few days later, I calmly said to Ethan, "Next month is our 30th wedding anniversary, and I'd like to have a banquet and invite some friends and family to celebrate." Ethan was stunned for a moment, then said perfunctorily, "The company has a lot of things to do lately, so there's no time for this. Besides, we're an old married couple. Formalities are not important. It's always the company is busy, or we're an old married couple." He refused so decisively, without the slightest hesitation. I didn't insist anymore, just nodded. "Okay, I'll listen to you." He probably thought I had really given up, but how could I give up? 30 years of effort can't just be written off like that. Ethan said he had to work overtime and slept in the study. I lay in bed, tossing and turning. At 2 in the morning, I opened the home surveillance app as if possessed. In the garage footage, Ethan was quietly starting the car. A few minutes later, the car drove out of the villa area and stopped at a secluded intersection. A slender figure opened the car door and got into the passenger seat. "It's Vivian Leigh." My fingers were cold as I turned on the hidden recording device in the car. I installed it a long time ago because I was worried about Ethan drinking and driving after socializing. I never thought the first time I used it would be to hear this. "Ethan, when are you going to confront that old woman?" Vivian's voice was delicate and coquettish, with a hint of dissatisfaction. "It was late at night. Soon, baby, just wait a little longer." Ethan's voice was full of exhaustion, but also with indulgence. "How much longer do I have to wait? I've waited for you for 10 years, since I was 18 and followed you. A full 10 years. Vivian's voice became sharp. "Now I'm pregnant, and the doctor says it's very likely to be a son. I can't let my child be born out of wedlock. 10 years, pregnant, son." Every word is like a knife, stabbing deeply into my heart. I was cold all over, and could barely hold my phone. So, it wasn't a whim, but a betrayal that lasted 10 years. I didn't even know that while I was taking care of this family and working for his company, he had another woman by his side all along. I know, Ethan soothed, but divorce isn't that simple. "Susan, she's not an ordinary woman. The Miller Group has her father's investment from back then, and her connections. Moving against her will affect the company. So what? Just because she's old, because she's useful to you, I have to be your mistress forever? My son has to be an illegitimate child?" Vivian cried. "Ethan, I don't want money. I just want a name. You have to divorce her." Okay, stop crying. It's not good for the baby." Ethan sighed. "Give me some time. I'll take care of it. The Miller Group will definitely belong to our son in the future." The recording continued, and I couldn't hear the words that followed clearly. I just felt dizzy and nauseous. I remembered that for him, I gave up my acting career and begged my father to take out his retirement money to invest in him when he was just starting his business. I remembered that for him, I socialized with all kinds of people and brought in so many resources and connections for the Miller Group. I remembered how many comeback opportunities one gave up in order to take care of the family, willingly being the woman behind him. For 30 years, I have given my youth, my career, my everything. In the end, what I got in return were labels like old woman, being told I am useful to the company, and the phrase it will belong to their son in the future. How can I get a divorce? Once divorced, I will have nothing. The majority of Miller Group's shares are in Ethan's name, and the property in my name over the years is far less than his. Besides, I can't let my daughter Olivia lose everything she deserves. Why should they be carefree and happy, while I have to leave in dismay? I will never admit defeat. Ethan, Vivian Leigh, you owe me, and I will get it back bit by bit, with interest. The thought of revenge, like a vine, quickly. A paid content trigger is set here. After learning about the decade-long betrayal and illegitimate child plot, users strongly expect the female lead to fight back. The next day, I met my friend Jessica for coffee. Jessica looked at my haggard face and asked with concern, "Susan, are you okay?" That day at the film festival, I interrupted her. "Jessica, help me find out everything about Vivian Leigh. The more details the better." Jessica was stunned for a moment, then understood something, and her eyes became angry. "That bitch. I knew she wasn't clean." "Don't worry, leave it to me." Divorce? A few days later, Jessica brought the news. Vivian doesn't have much of a background. She's just an ambitious small-time actress. However, her assistant, Chloe Hill, seems to have a lot of resentment towards her. It's said that Vivian often beats and scolds her, and also steals her credit. Chloe Hill. I'll remember that name. At the same time, I noticed that negative comments online about Vivian Ray winning awards, such as questioning her acting skills and speculating about behind-the-scenes deals, were quickly suppressed. Why? Ethan's PR team is pretty quick on the uptake. No. Want to protect her? I just won't let you have your way. I contacted Vince again. Vince, help me release a few press releases and give Vivian Leigh a good hype. Praise? Vince was surprised. Yes. Say she is the rising star of the Miller Group, the future mainstay, with superb acting skills and a bright future. Praise her as high as possible. Understand the concept of killing with praise? I want her to fall more miserably in the spotlight. Although Vince didn't understand, he still did as he was told. Soon, articles praising Vivian appeared on all major media platforms, and she had become the favorite daughter of the Miller Group. As expected, Vivian became complacent and acted even more flamboyantly. Soon, it was Ethan and my 30th wedding anniversary. Although Ethan said not to do it, I still held a grand banquet in my name. The location was in a hotel owned by the Miller Group. I invited all the directors, shareholders, company executives, as well as many business celebrities and media reporters. At the banquet, I wore a custom-made silver gown and was radiant. Ethan was caught off guard by my sudden action, but in front of everyone, he could only cooperate and play the loving couple. I took his hand and smiled brightly. During the speech, at my reminder, Ethan announced that he would transfer some of the Miller Group's shares to my name and give me a luxury cruise ship named after me as an anniversary gift. The audience burst into applause. Immediately after, I took the microphone, my voice clear and strong. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, my husband, Ethan, to celebrate this special day, and to thank everyone for their support of the Miller Group. I have decided to personally fund an increase in the year-end bonus for all employees of the group, and also increase this year's shareholder dividends. I didn't discuss this decision with Ethan beforehand. The audience instantly erupted in even more enthusiastic applause and cheers. I saw Ethan's expression change, but he quickly recovered his smile. I knew that this move not only won people's hearts and consolidated my position in the group, but also served as a silent warning to a potential threat. Vivian Ray also came, wearing a brightly colored red dress. Like a proud peacock, she walked up to me and handed me a beautifully packaged gift box. Mrs. Miller, I heard that you haven't been sleeping well recently, so I specially selected some calming and health-preserving flower tea for you. I hope you like it, she said with a smile, but her eyes were full of provocation. Health tea for old people? Before I could say anything, she shook the huge pigeon blood ruby ring on her hand again, the ring shining with dazzling light under the light. This ring is so beautiful, my friend next to me exclaimed. Vivian glanced at Ethan with feigned shyness. Ethan gave it to me. He said red suits me best. She leaned closer to me and said in a voice only the two of us could hear. He also said that he will soon give me an official title, making me the true owner of this ring. I smiled and picked up the flower tea she gave me. Thank you for your kindness, Miss Vivian. However, even the most expensive accessories depend on who wears them. Some people, even if they wear them, will always be just accessories and never become the master. Vivian's face turned pale instantly. I went to the restroom to touch up my makeup in the middle of the dinner. In front of the sink, I met a young girl who was looking down and tidying up her things. The name tag on her chest read, Chloe Hill. It was her. I casually pretended to take off the expensive custom watch from my wrist and placed it on the sink before turning to leave. Not long after, Chloe caught up, holding my watch in her hand. Mrs. Miller, your watch. She carefully handed it to me. I looked at her. The girl had clear eyes, with a hint of timidity, but even more so, a sense of unwillingness. Thank you, Chloe. I took the watch and put it back on. You are very careful and honest. I didn't give her a tip, but handed her a business card. If you want a different working environment, you can contact this person. The business card had my daughter Olivia's contact information on it. Chloe was stunned, looked at me with a complex expression. I know that opportunity impresses an ambitious person more than money. A few days later, my daughter Olivia called me, her voice excited. Mom, that Chloe you recommended is amazing. There was a problem with a project on my end, and she fixed it in no time. She's much better than the useless people my dad sent me. After graduating from university, Olivia joined the Miller Group, but Ethan didn't seem to value her and always gave her unimportant tasks. Then make good use of her, I said lightly. From now on, she is your person. I need to cultivate my own power, win over my daughter, and fight against Ethan's absurd plan to leave the company to his illegitimate son. On the way home from the dinner party, Ethan finally couldn't help but explode. Susan, what exactly did you mean tonight? Deciding to increase the year-end bonus and dividends without authorization. What do you take the board of directors for? This is called buying a horse's bones for 1,000 gold. Ethan, I said calmly, looking out the window. Right now, both inside and outside the company need to stabilize morale. This little money can buy loyalty and support, which is very worthwhile. It's like investing in stocks. You need to have a long-term vision. Ethan was speechless, his face livid. When I got home, I made him a cup of tea as usual. I used the soothing and health tea that Vivian gave me. Ethan picked up the cup, smelled it, and frowned. What's that smell? Miss Vivian sent it. Said it's good for sleep, I said with a smile. Ethan's face instantly turned ugly, and he slammed the cup down. I'm not drinking this. His reaction confirmed my guess. This tea is probably more than just calming. Late at night, Ethan's phone rang again. He glanced at it, hesitated, but still got up, dressed, and went out. He knew without thinking that Vivian was summoning him. After a few days, several photos suddenly surfaced on social media. One was a selfie of Vivian with a bottle of folic acid on the table and a hospital in the background. The other was of her wearing the pigeon blood ring on her hand, with a pair of men's cufflinks next to it. The cufflinks were a brand that Ethan often used, implying pregnancy and implying the child's father. This is a blatant power grab. The hot search was instantly detonated. I immediately had Vince use his connections to suppress the hot search. At the same time, I had the PR team rehype the loving photos and videos of our 30th anniversary celebration, with press releases flying everywhere, shaping me into an elegant, generous, and deeply beloved wealthy hostess. The public opinion quickly turned around. Ethan went to appease Vivian in a frantic state. He took her to a high-end jewelry store and bought her an expensive jade bracelet. Honey, don't make a fuss, be good. After the Golden Eagle Awards are over, I will definitely help you win the Best Actress award. And then, Vivian was appeased, and she became even more convinced that she was not far from Mrs. Miller's position. To nourish the fetus, she turned down a lot of work, and the resources she freed up were naturally transferred by Olivia to her new capable assistant, Chloe Hill. Ethan brought back a bouquet of peony flowers when he came home. Vivian sent it, said to put it in the bedroom. It's good for your health, he said in a flat tone, as if just mentioning it casually. Peony, also known as Zhongli, meaning about to leave. Heh, how thoughtful. I took the flowers and put them in a vase in the living room. In the evening, I still made him that cup of nerve-calming and health-preserving tea. Why this again? Ethan frowned. Don't waste Miss Vivian's good intentions. I smiled gently. Just like these peony flowers, looking at them more often can improve your mood. Ethan looked at me with a complex expression, but in the end, he didn't say anything. I contacted the famous director David Wells through my own connections. He was preparing a big-budget movie, and the original female lead was Vivian Ray. I recommended Chloe Hill to him. Initially, David was hesitant, but after watching Chloe's audition footage and learning that the Miller Group would increase investment, he agreed to replace the actress. The news spread, and Chloe became an instant sensation overnight. Immediately afterward, she also snatched an international brand endorsement that originally belonged to Vivian. Vivian couldn't sit still any longer. She went straight to Miller Group and stormed into Olivia's office, making a scene. In the dispute, Vivian suddenly clutched her stomach and fainted to the ground, her face pale. Ethan rushed over upon hearing the news, and seeing Vivian's weak appearance, he was extremely nervous and immediately picked her up and rushed to the hospital. This scene was seen by many people in the company and was also coincidentally captured by the reporters waiting. I received the news and rushed to the hospital. At the door of the ward, Olivia was pointing at Vivian, who was lying on the bed, and scolding her angrily. Vivian Ray, stop pretending. Do you think you can enter the house just by being pregnant with a bastard? Let me tell you, as long as I, Olivia, am here, you and your bastard can forget about entering the Miller family's door. Ethan was trembling with anger, and raised his hand to hit Olivia. You dare to touch her, I shouted sharply to stop him. Ethan's hand froze in midair, looking at me in disbelief. I walked up to him and handed him my phone to look at. On the screen was a photo of him carrying Vivian into the hospital, along with headlines from major news websites. Miller Group president's anger for the new actress? A real-life story of a king playing with the feudal lords? Secrets of the rich and powerful. A popular young actress forces marriage with pregnancy, and the CEO abandons his daughter to protect his mistress? Ethan's face turned pale instantly. These news. His voice trembled. I tried my best to suppress it, but I couldn't suppress everything. I looked at him and said coldly, Ethan, things have blown up. I turned to Olivia and gently stroked her hair. Silly child. It's not worth getting angry over this kind of person. Then, I looked at Ethan and said, word by word, do you know why Olivia hates her so much? Because on the day of your father's funeral, she hid in the lounge cubicle and overheard your dirty deeds with Vivian. Ethan was struck by lightning and staggered back a few steps. It turned out that the root of the father-daughter rift had already been planted. I walked into the ward, and Vivian was looking at me triumphantly, as if showing off her victory. I ignored her and went straight to the bedside table, picking up her switched-off phone. Then, I walked to the bedside and gently patted Ethan, who seemed to be asleep on the accompanying bed next to it. Ethan, wake up and watch the news. Ethan groggily opened his eyes and took another phone I handed him. When he saw the overwhelming news and comments, he woke up completely, his face ashen. His assistant rushed over to report, President, we found out that Miss Vivian hired someone to take the photos and leak them. Also, the milk you drank last night tested positive for sleeping pills. Ethan suddenly looked at Vivian, his eyes filled with anger and disbelief. The milk was personally served to him by Vivian. She schemed against him. How dare she scheme against him, using him to create public opinion and force him to abdicate. Reputation is one of the things he values most. Vivian has crossed his bottom line. Ethan, Vivian panicked, trying to explain. Enough, Ethan interrupted her, his voice as cold as winter. I spoke up in a timely manner, my tone calm to the point of being gentle. Ethan, since you are true love, then I will fulfill you. Ethan looked at me sharply. However, I changed the subject. Divorce is possible, but we need to carefully calculate the shares of Miller Group, the properties under your name, and Olivia's inheritance rights. No, I won't get a divorce. Ethan immediately denied it. Susan, I never thought about divorce. The only person I love is you. He looked into my eyes, trying to show affection and remorse. Vivian was just confused for a moment. I was just playing around with her. Playing around? I sneered. Playing around for 10 years. And even produced a child? Ethan was speechless. How about this? I suggested understandingly. After the child is born, I will raise it, under my name, and he will be the heir of the Miller family in the future. As for Miss Vivian, give her a sum of money and send her abroad, never to return. This is good for everyone. Ethan looked at me, his eyes filled with struggle and weighing the options. Finally, he nodded, his tone even carrying a hint of gratitude. Susan, thank you. Thank you for still being willing to give me a chance. Thank you for your consideration. Considerate? Ha. I walked to Vivian's hospital bed. She was still trying to maintain her arrogance. Susan, don't be smug. Ethan loves me. He will divorce his wife for me and our child. I looked at her with pity, like looking at a clown. Really? Too bad. He just told me himself that he will never get a divorce. He only loves me. As for the child, he agreed to have it and let me raise it. As for you, he will give you a sum of money and let you get as far away as possible. I turned on her phone and handed it to her. See the news for yourself. Vivian snatched the phone. When she saw the overwhelming ridicule and abuse against her and Ethan on the internet, and saw that her carefully planned palace coup had turned into a farce that everyone was denouncing, she completely collapsed. No, this isn't how it is. Ethan, you lied to me, she screamed hysterically, acting like a madwoman. The scandal continues to escalate, and Miller Group's stock price plummets. Ethan is in a terrible mess and struggling to cope. The shareholders' meeting is imminent, and he is facing enormous pressure. I suggested, you are not in a good state right now. Let me go to the shareholders' meeting for you. Ethan looked at me with a complicated expression, but ultimately agreed. On the way to the venue, I calmly told him, oh, by the way, that important email about the chairman election in your mailbox seems to have been accidentally deleted by me. Ethan's eyes widened suddenly. At the shareholders' meeting, I, together with my daughter Olivia, who was already on my side, the combined shares of our mother and daughter already exceeded Ethan's, as well as those shareholders who had been won over by me with interests and favors, put forward several proposals. 1. Indefinitely freeze Vivian Ray and hold her accountable for breach of contract. 2. fully cultivate the new talent Chloe Hill. 3. In view of the recent scandal involving Ethan Miller that has severely damaged the company's reputation, it is proposed that Susan Miller take over as chairman of the group. The voting results, unanimously approved. Ethan sat under the stage, his face ashen. I immediately held a press conference to announce the takeover of the Miller Group. I successfully reversed public opinion by leveraging the virtuous wife and philanthropist image I had built up during the previous 30th anniversary celebration, as well as the leading lady persona I adopted in this moment of crisis. The public began to praise my decisiveness and ability, and the stock price of the Miller Group miraculously began to recover. I moved into the chairman's office, Ethan's old office. He came to me, questioning why I treated him like this. I looked at him and said calmly, "Ethan, I never objected to you having women outside. It's inevitable for a man to have some fun, but I can't tolerate someone trying to bring an illegitimate child into the house and steal everything that should belong to my daughter. Miller Group is my father's hard work and my daughter's future. No one can take it away." Ethan looked at me, his eyes shifting from anger to shock, and finally only despair remained. He seemed to age 10 years in an instant. Soon after, Ethan fell ill. It was a stroke. Although he was rescued in time, he was left with sequelae, slurred speech, and difficulty moving. I hired the best caretaker for him, settled him at home for meticulous care, and completely excluded him from company affairs. Vivian panicked completely when she learned that I had taken over the Miller Group and was facing claims for huge breach of contract penalties. She wanted to contact Ethan, but found she couldn't reach him at all. She grew increasingly haggard and emaciated in the hospital. She heard the nurses' private discussions. TSK, her good days are over. She thought she could rely on her son to gain wealth and status. It's not that easy to get into a wealthy family. If you ask me, she should quickly have the child aborted, take the money and leave, and start over. These words pierced Vivian like needles. Finally, one day, she couldn't stand the stimulation anymore and secretly escaped from the hospital while the nurse wasn't paying attention. 3 days later, Ethan, who was resting at home, received an anonymous package. After opening it, he only took one look before clutching his chest and falling straight backward. By the time I got the call and rushed to the hospital, the doctor told me that Ethan had suffered a sudden cerebral hemorrhage and died despite all efforts to save him. I calmly took care of his funeral arrangements. Later I learned that Vivian had escaped from the hospital and gone to a small clinic to abort the formed male fetus. In that package was the bloody fetus. Ethan was literally driven to death. I didn't feel much emotion about Ethan's death, and even felt a sense of relief. All I could think about was the future of the Miller Group and the future of my daughter, Olivia. 6 months later, Olivia came back from a business trip abroad and told me something. She was on the streets of Los Angeles and saw a crazy woman rummaging through a garbage can for food. That woman looked a lot like Vivian Ray. The once infinitely glamorous movie star is now a crazy beggar on the streets of a foreign country. After listening, I didn't say anything, just picked up my coffee and looked out the window. The sun is just right, and everything is developing in the direction I want. The Miller Group, now surnamed Miller, belongs only to Miller. It belongs to me and my daughter.